What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video, we are on the test server here, so we'll be doing some extra testing here. And we're going to take a quick look at the upcoming fusion. Now, there's been a lot of hype about this fusion coming around on Monday, March 10th. It's going to be a really, really good one, at least on paper. So we're going to test them out here, and we can make some further conclusions from that. But let's take a quick look at the next coming fusion. It's going to be here. It's going to be an undead champion here. Pretty stacked undead faction, but here he is, Fabian, Lord Entertainer Fabian. Base stats, a little bit on the low side, to be honest. Comes with boosted accuracy, decent speed. This random attack stack here is not very good stat allocation for him, especially since he's just a support champion. He's not here for damage. He will get some extra damage in his attacks from this extra attack here, but it's not that important. 109 base speed is pretty good. And yeah, so let's go over his kit here real quick. First, A1, double hit on a single target, has a Terminator Steal and a Terminator Deplete. Decent, but not insane. His A2 here, 3-turn cooldown now, this is a really strong ability. A Petrification, 100% Petrification, and then places True Fear on the other enemies is very, very strong. Now, this ability also has a passive effect, and it always goes off whenever an enemy activates a ability when they're under fear or true fear. Is actually really, really strong. Having this ability basically go off all the time, and kind of having this A2 ability feed into the passive ability of this makes it quite strong as a control ability. The A3 here, this is going to be a really, really strong ability as well. 4-turn cooldown when fully booked. I highly recommend fully booking him. If you can avoid the books into his A1, he will cost a total of 8 books, which is very, very decent. Otherwise, it's just going to cost you 10 books, which is still fine. But his A3 here is going to be attack all enemies before attacking, has a 75% chance of decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs by 3 turns. Secondary effect here is a 100% chance of increasing the cooldowns of all enemy skills by 3 turns. Now, both of these put together is very, very powerful. It's effectively a strip, buff strip, plus a 3-turn lockout. Grants an extra turn if there's no buffs on the enemy team after this attacks. All right, and his passive ability. Whenever an enemy is revived, place True Fear on that enemy for 2 turns. Also removes stun, freeze, basically hard CC from this champion at the start of their turn. Very, very strong CC, making him pretty hard to control. You have to lock him out, basically. And then also he passively, controls the enemy whenever they're revived, further crippling their ability to recover. Speed in all battles as well, 19%. Very, very good, well-rounded champion. I think for a fusion, this guy's got to be top tier, just based on his kit. It's going to be a great PvP, great PvE champion, but we'll let the play test, showcase him a little bit, and then we can make some further conclusions at the end of it. In the meantime, I'll show you guys the Fabian that I put together here for this video. So let me take a quick look here. So Fabian. So this is the Fabian I put together here. I think this is a little bit more accessible Fabian in terms of what gear you want to put on him. Obviously, the stats are going to be very difficult. I have the 5-star blessing on my Fabian just because you would basically 100% assume that the 5-star soul event for this champion will be up for grabs. Again, highly, highly recommend going for the 5-star soul for him because all of his abilities do require accuracy. So having the extra accuracy from the 5-star is very, very massive for him. But we can go over what I have on him. So the main thing with him is having this pinpoint set. Pinpoint set has been a very, very strong set introduced into this game because it allows the wearer to basically not worry about getting sheeped, at least in the beginning. So having this kind of 1-turn intercept on him allows him to basically do what he needs to do without running into issues with being CC'd. Now, this mainly benefits him from getting sheeped. Obviously, if sheep is totally removed from the arena meta, you don't even need this because he does have the passive that removes, hard CCs when he takes a turn. So, But for now, pinpoint is, still very relevant in the arena meta. So at least having one pinpoint set on him is very good. I do have some more like accessible like sets on him, basically perception sets just to boost up his accuracy here. Total stats on him so far 371 with 727 accuracy. I would say these stats are pretty good, although they're not like crazy good, obviously. But I would say they're, you know, top 5% in the game probably. As a debuffer, you want him to be fast. You want him to take lots of turns. You want him with super high accuracy so that he can land his stuff. 700 accuracy here is going to be, more than usable for PvP, unless you're in the highest, bracket of PvP. For any kind of wave-based content like hard Doom Tower and stuff, you probably only need about 400 accuracy to do everything you need to do. So having this much amount of accuracy is not necessary. Now, if these stats are difficult for you to reach, I would highly recommend going for speed over accuracy, even dropping accuracy down to 400 or 300. It might be fine for some PvP applications, some PvP tiers. But if you can lock out, basically the damage dealer, then it's probably fine. I think going as fast as possible makes the most sense for these types of champions, the lockout champions. And since he has a speed in all battles aura, you basically don't need a booster to go with him if he's kind of your fastest champion, like on your entire account. He just starts and then he'll lock out your enemy. But if you have a booster, so for example, an Arbiter to go before him, you can have him a lot slower. Another build I recommend over this build would actually be Pinpoint plus Stone Skin. So Pinpoint plus Stone Skin is going to be really good here, especially if your speeds are not super high. If your speeds are not super high, you need him to take a turn. So as long as he's not dead or locked out, he can still function. So in this case, I've swapped out the perception gear, gave him the stone skin gear. Sorry, I'm missing the banner here. I got a really nice banner for him. Let's see here. I'm missing the nice banner right here. That's a really nice banner. I got a triple speed roll on this accuracy banner. So really nice banner here. So I got a 4-piece stone skin. I'm going to run this build when in the arena for him. But this is roughly the build that I would recommend, unless you have godly speed gear and you're very likely to go first. Then just forego the stone skin and just go full speed. But probably pinpoint still, probably at least one turn pinpoint still probably reigns supreme on him. I went with temporal chains here to decrease speed of the enemy for each active buff. I think it's okay. I think it's pretty good for like a speed champion like this. You could also go with the intimidating presence for the increased aura and weaken the enemy aura. That could be pretty good as well. The other thing you could go for is actually polymorph. He does have accuracy in his kit, so polymorph can be pretty good, especially if you have a slower one. Can be decent. Of course, fully booked if you can, skipping the A1 if you can. So 8 books, maximum 10 books. In terms of relics, there's a lot that you can go for here. There's a lot of good support ones. For masteries, yeah, I kind of like the masteries that I went with him. Obviously, Eagle Eye is very good for plus 50 accuracy. Um, I went down to Harvest Despair, so you get Leech when you place Fear or True Fear, so that he's going to be placing this a lot. Leech is really good just for some sustain, especially for your damage dealers. Cycle of Revenge for some extra turn meter, so he gets turns faster. Improved parry, so he can actually take a hit and survive. Um, Arcane Celerity for extra turn meter. Cycle of Magic, so you can get back your big abilities faster. Spirit Haste, just in case somebody dies, at least he can have a chance to maybe take control of the fight, and then hopefully you can recover with Spirit Haste. So yeah, I kind of like these masters on him. I think these are going to be pretty good. But yeah, the main thing to focus on for him would be, like I said, speed, accuracy. That's all you need. It's whatever your gear can provide you. Make him as fast as possible with as high accuracy as possible. If you could have to sacrifice one, I would sacrifice the accuracy and just go for full speed, so he gets a turn to at least lock out the damage dealer. Now let's take him into the arena and see what we can do. Like I said, his kit is mainly for arena and some wave-based content could be good for Doom Tower and stuff like that, or even just dungeons to get to the boss. But he's not going to do anything against most bosses because they are immune to fear, unless you're fighting Chimera boss with him specifically, immune to petrification and all that. So his kit's not going to be very useful against bosses, but he can be still serviceable against some waves. But yeah, let's test him out in some arena action here. We are on the test server here, so we're kind of limited on what we can fight. Most of these defenses are pretty strong. If we don't go first, we're probably dead. So that's the big thing here. If we don't go first, we're probably going to get locked out as well. So we have to cherry pick some teams here. So it's not going to be the best representation of what he can actually do, but I'll try my best. All right, let's hop in a fight here. This is the team I got going on. Basically, just Arbiter boosting into the control champion, which is Fabian's role. And then I have Ancora here. She basically has a bolster shield to keep everybody alive. You can use like Necrit or something. I also have her for additional turn meter boost, just so I can get to my nuker, and then just any generic attack-based nuker. Let's see what he can do on full auto here. Quickly checking this out. So on full auto, Jacob here, I think goes first. Yeah, he goes first. So our man's gonna come in here. He has him set up to use the sheep first. So we're gonna get a turn here. So let's see what he does on full auto. On full auto, he looks like he's gonna use the A3. You see double lockout here, and then we see double weak hit, and nothing happens. So this is a big weakness that I found with Fabian, is that his affinity is a big issue here. So do we get a turn back? Let's see. Do we get a turn back? I want to try the A2. If we get a turn back, we do. Okay, so the A2. So he opened with the A3, right? So Spectral Flourish. So we saw that he locked out the Arbor and Narcisse, and then he did decrease the duration of their buffs, um, but he failed against Armans and Ancora. So this is a big issue. His affinity is a problem here. Now, the decreased duration of all enemy buffs by 3 turns. If you're trying to use this against Stone Skin, obviously Stone Skin still has a chance to prevent this from happening, and it's not affected by weak hits, so that's a good thing. But the lockout is affected by weak hits, so if you weak hit, you're not going to get the lockout on them, which is a big problem here. So let's see what the A2 can do here. So we're going to try to A2 the Narcisse. So the A2 has to be a hit. That's the big issue as well. So that's very cool that the Armans got revived with the fear on, 2-turn fear. Very, very annoying for him, of course. Let's see what we can do. Let's get back. Okay, so we got the A1. The A1's going to be stealing turn meter and then placing fear if the turn meter is fully depleted. So we can kind of see that nobody is even close to being fully depleted, so we're not going to fear anybody, but we do get to steal some turn meter. Let's push back Narcisse a little bit here. So Armans fought through the fear, which means that Fabian should have placed the A2, but because Fabian is stunned, he was not able to place the A2. So a little bit annoying there. Otherwise, he would have been in full control. But we see there that his passive removed the stun when he got a turn. So really, really interesting and pretty good, actually. I kind of like it. So he's not really easy to control. We do some turn meter stuff. Are we going to get a turn? Let's kill this guy. Pretty big. Pretty big. All right, so let's lock them out again and then remove all of these buffs, hopefully. Yep, full lockout, full buff removal. This time, no weak hit on Ancora. So that's the big thing, right? No weak hit on Ancora there. And it looks, obviously we're in control right now. Let's petrify. Who do you want to petrify? Let's petrify Arbiter, sure. Oh, right. Ancora will get petrified instead. And at this point, it's basically over. So we don't need to finish off this fight. Yeah, we don't need to finish off this fight. So we saw a lot of things happen here with Fabian. We saw his passive at work. We saw his A2 at work. We saw his A1 and A3. We saw a little bit of weakness with his kit and how it can be not as good in some of these situations, mainly because of his affinity. Um, the fact that his A3 requires the hit to lock out is a big, big problem within his kit. Let's move on and see if we can find something else. All right, let's quickly jump into a fight against. Forgot who's this player? Not sure his name. Sorry. Well, let's quickly jump into the fight here. Similar situation, right? Like he's going to be your control champion. Your speed champion. You're going to have to run him in speed teams unless you have an insanely fast team. So we're going to go first here. We got the turn meter boost. Unfortunately, the Queen of Hearts will cut in here. Let's see what the Queen of Hearts is going to do. Almost killing our Arbiter, which is really bad. And this is going to be really bad because Mary's going to get another hit because of the turn meter stuff. All right, so now it's our turn. We can lock them out. So the lockout here, we do have Armans here, which is the bad affinity. And weak hit, yep, the weak hit on the Armans. So the Armans is not locked out, but we did get the strip here on all his buffs, and then all the buffs on everybody else were removed. We see everybody has no buffs, so now we can petrify somebody, which is pretty sweet. I would say we petrify Sifi. So Sifi is petrified. Everybody's feared. The thing with Sifi is that Sifi has a passive that removes fear. So fearing her is not going to do anything. That's why you choose to petrify her, of course. So let's revive our Arbiter. Oh yeah, the turn meter stuff. Shit. Mary is too good. And he broke the fear. He broke through the fear. Oh, and we got the win. So ultimately, what happened is that Fabian got the control, right? He had the control. He had the control enough to basically lock everybody out. He had the petrification to fear everybody, and it gave our basically our damage dealer a chance to come back, even though his Marius was popping off and killing our stuff. So ultimately, he did his role. He controlled the enemy team, gave our team a chance to win. All right, so let's quickly take this offense against this defense, which is basically one of the best defenses you can have. So let's jump into it and see how well we can do. Obviously, hitting Marichka is going to be really bad since Taras is going to use the A2, but this is one of the strongest duels in the game, of course. So let's see how we can fare against this. We have pretty good control. We have ways to remove the stone skin. We have petrification as well. So let's see what we can do here. Really nice. We removed the stone skin from three of their champions. So from three of their champions, the stone skin was removed. We locked out everybody's skills, which is really, really good. And then we hit right into reaction. Hit right into reaction because, of course, Smiley has an insanely good team built to withstand any kind of offense. And my Georgia is going to get weaker and weaker every time he touches the Taras. So I could have brought a better, I could have brought a better offense here. Uh, Petrification, I guess. So did you guys see that? I tried to petrify Marichka, but then petrification went on the UDK first, and then the fear went on everybody else. Alright, we are positive affinity against the UDK, which is kind of nice. Oh, right. After he broke the fear, Fabian used the A2, which petrified UDK again, and then cast fear again. So actually pretty interesting. So every time Taras breaks the fear, she broke the fear, and then he's going to come back in. So really tough here. Obviously, he broke through the fear, but he also killed Fabian. So Fabian was not able to use the A2. Yeah, so at this point, we're never going to recover because that Taras is just going to murder us. We had no way of controlling the Taras. But, overall, not too bad, right? We were able to strip the Stone Skin, lock them out, giving our team basically a chance to do something. Unfortunately, we don't have like the perfect offense to fight against this insane defense. But we saw some things here from Fabian that were pretty good, and at least it gives us some tools to handle a defense like this. All right, guys. I think that we've seen enough about what Fabian can kind of do here against some of the offenses or defenses that we were using him against. So we noticed that there were some things that were not so good about his kit. So the main thing about his kit was his affinity issue, right? So having the affinity issue, having the affinity be a big negative here. So if he weak hits on his A3, he's not going to get the cooldowns off or the cooldown reduction ability lockout off, and that's a big part of this ability. Now, with that said, the first part of his ability still works. He still has the 3 turn duration decrease happen before he attacks, so the affinity doesn't matter. However, if you're using this against Stone Skin still has a 50% chance of basically stopping that. So it's not going to be a sure thing. After that, for his A2 did work out kind of well. Obviously, Petrification is a very strong debuff, and then True Fears on everybody is very, very good. The passive effect here is good if Fabian is not CC'd. His passive, um, it only removes the hard CC at the beginning of his turn. So if he's CC'd before he takes a turn, then he will still be CC'd. And if he's CC'd, he can't place the A2, which really hurts the value from this ability. Obviously, it can't go through block debuffs and all that stuff. Petrification also has affinity issues as well. So you're going to have to be choosing your targets wisely with the petrification. And his A1, it's not too surprising, but the true fear being placed by the A1 is not going to happen too often because you have to fully deplete the turn meter, and then you can only deplete 20% with his A1, so it's not going to happen all the time. So his A1 is not particularly insane or anything like that. And we did see the fear be placed on, I think an Armans or something that got revived, but that Armans was still able to break free from that true fear and use his abilities. Um, and then he ended up stunning our Fabian, and our Fabian couldn't use the petrification in return. So overall, I mean, it did show some weaknesses in his kit. Does that make him a bad champion? Absolutely not. He has a very insane kit, especially for a fusion, which makes him more accessible to more people. This champion will be a massive help to a lot of accounts, not just in PvP, definitely for PvE, helping them carry through a lot of areas in the game. Is he better than Armans? That's the better question here. Armans definitely favors from a better affinity matchup, of course. Armans' stun ability is stronger than fear because, as we saw, fear can be broken. You have a chance to come out of fear and use your ability, whereas stun you can't. So stun is massively superior debuff to fear, even though Fabian is landing fears like crazy. It's not as good as stun. So that's a big issue there for Fabian versus Armans. Also, Armans' sheep ability is better than petrification because petrification can be cleansed off, where sheep cannot be cleansed off. So ultimately, the best thing about Fabian versus Armans is probably this three-turn lockout ability. But because it's affinity based, um, it's an issue. It's an issue for Fabian here. Armans does have an A1 that's incredibly strong as well. That locks out skills as well. So you can check out Arman's here. So Arman's is A1 is also very, very strong. He has a 50% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random skill. So his A1's already very strong. Even if locked out, he can still be very strong with this A1. It's much stronger than Fabian's A1. So if we were to compare Fabian to Arman 1v1, Arman's would be significantly better, in my opinion. Again, this does not make Fabian a bad champion at all. He is still an incredible champion. Now, the most important question is, will you go for the fusion yourself? And then, in my opinion, I think everybody should go for this fusion because the argument is if I have Arman's, um, I'm not going to go for this champion. I've been hearing that argument a lot, and I don't think it's very strong because if you're going to give up basically an Arman's level champion, a fusion. And the only reason why you're passing on it is because I have an Arman's. Well, one day Arman's might not be super viable, right? Or maybe you want a spirit affinity Arman's, for example. Or maybe you have Fabian that's going to be really good in some content that Arman's is not good in. And because Fabian is, almost as good as Arman's, he's definitely worthy of being, a fusion that people go for. Now, is there a drawback to having both? Of course not. You have more options. You have more options for arena, you have more options for Centrano stages, you have more options for everything. So having, more options is always a good thing. Getting the champion is, one of the hardest things to do in this game, and having the champion available from the fusion makes it more accessible to more people. So I highly recommend everyone go for Fabian, even though in this kind of showcase, he doesn't appear to be better than Arman's, at least currently, and he does suffer from some issues that Arman's suffers from as well, such as affinity. But Arman's is still incredibly good in spite of his affinity, whereas Fabian can be much less good because of his affinity. But anyways, guys, that's going to be my verdict on Fabian. I don't think it's rocket scientist for anybody to read his kit and realize that he's an insane champion. And as a fusion, he's definitely 100% go for. But obviously, people have their own reasons for passing on fusions, whether it be time, commitment, or resources that they were not able to save, for example. But if you're able to and you have the resources and time, I would highly recommend going for this champion. He's definitely going to be useful and he brings a lot to the table. So, anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. What do you guys think you guys would use him for? Do you guys have any suggestions for me? I can test things for him if you guys like. What kind of build would you guys put him in? Do you guys agree that Stone Skin Pinpoint or Pinpoint just full speed would be the best build for him? Do you guys agree with my conclusion that Arman's is actually better than him? Or would he be still better? Let's say he was Magic Affinity. Would you agree that Arman's is still better? Or would you say that Fabian is now better because of the affinity? So let me know in the comments below what you guys think, all these questions and all that. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.